Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Monday, the 8th of December 2025. It's a match day as well and we have got lots to get into. Could it be Amorim's last game? We'll talk about that later, but we're here to talk about the latest news. We've got updates on Baleba, Ugarte, a young French midfielder that we might be looking at as well. Apparently we're interested in Guehi. Adam Wharton's agent has spoken about the plan that they have as well. So lots of things to get into this morning on the United Stand. And I think some interesting avenues to go down as well. The interesting point is where to actually start, because I think that with every story we have, especially transfer related this morning, I think it sort of shines a light on the reality of Manchester United. For example, I look at this story that's coming in this morning. I think I read it in the Manchester Evening News about Manchester United looking at a French midfielder called Ayoub Boadi, who is being looked at by Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Bayern, 18 years of age, could cost about £50 million. He's played 18 times for Lille this season. Is that the right sort of player for Manchester United to be looking at? Is that the right sort of player to come into Manchester United? We've also got Bayern Munich, who are apparently looking at Baleba. Adam Wharton's plan is basically around the Champions League. In fact, I think we'll start with that one. We've got Turkey interest in Galatasaray. I'm talking about the country Turkey, not the one that's going to be on everyone's Christmas table. And also, we've got this story about Guehi as well, that apparently we're looking at him. He's available on a free transfer. So there's interesting avenues with each one of those stories. But I think the one that's most credible I want to start off with, because I want to start with a bit of credibility, is that Adam Wharton's agent has actually spoken about the future of Adam Wharton. Now, Crystal Palace are having a great season at the moment. They will be above us tonight, even if we win, even though we beat them last season. But this is what Wharton's agent said. Now, Wharton is a player that's going to be on Manchester United's shopping list. Obviously, Elliot Anderson's been mentioned. Baleba we'll talk about with the latest update in a moment. Maybe Angelo Stiller, maybe Conor Gallagher, maybe Manu Kone, maybe a couple of other players as well. But this is a bit of a warning when the agent of a player is saying this, because I think this is where I said this last summer. How many more times are we going to get away with players that, you know, liked Manchester United when they were growing up? Cunha and Mbeumo are in their mid-20s. 12 years ago, they'd be 13 years of age. That would have been just the end of United under Sir Alex. You'd still have people like Rooney, Van Persie. United would still have an aura. So you've still got that as a kid. Oh, I love Man United as a kid. But how many more years are we going to get by with that? You know, if you're 22 years of age, when you were 12, we were shit. So, you know, what is it that we're going to be able to offer these players unless we can go, oh, remember the days of Rooney and Sir Alex? I mean, those days are going to be, you're going to have to be about 40 soon to remember that. I mean, I exaggerate, but it won't be that long. So this is what the agent of Adam Wharton said. Personally, I think to play for England, you have to play Champions League football. And to play in the Champions League, you've got to play for one of the top teams in the top leagues. That jump to a Champions League team, I think you can get lost. The plan below that was to play for a Premier League team. We have got a plan. He's 21. I have to check myself to remember that every now and then. It doesn't have to be achieved yesterday, today, or this moment. He's got his in-game, in-season targets and goals. He's got to do his bit and the rest will look after itself in a very structured, calm way to ultimately add value and maximise his ability. I mean, it's a very mercenary way to talk about Adam Wharton as his agent, but ultimately that's what agents are. They'll be looking at, you know, hand in hand, improving his career whilst improving their wallets. So, look, I think they had the planning to come into the Champions League and play. They had the plan to come into the Premier League and play regularly. I think he went from Blackburn to Palace. They've done that. The next jump is going to be Champions League football, and that's clearly, we've heard that before about Adam Wharton. And I think over the next few months, regardless of what happens on the field, we know we need to sign midfielders. We do have to look at that and go, well, look, is that a viable option for Manchester United this January? No. No, it's not. They're not. He's not moving in January. Absolutely not. Is he moving in the summer? Probably, but we're going to need Champions League football. And also, you've got an agent there that is obviously very focused on, you know, season targets, 2-year targets, 3-year targets to achieve what the best outcome for their player. And I think this is something that sort of worries me a little bit, because if I was an agent of Adam Wharton or any player, I'd be going, it better be a bloody big payday at Man United, because the chances of my career falling off a cliff are pretty high. You know, when you look at most players that sign for Man United, it doesn't go well. So if I'm going to Man United, you better be giving me life-changing money, because it's not like this is the best place to go for my career. So I don't, you know, we were talking about this last night about United's reluctance to do stuff in a January transfer window, but pretending that they like to steal a march on other clubs. I think we're going to struggle in the summer. I really do. I think there's going to be some good targets, but we didn't do well with our striker targets. There was a lot of striker targets available, and we didn't get our top 4. I think Sesko's a good signing, but he wasn't in our top 4. So I think the same thing happens with the midfield. Oh, we're not going to do anything in January because we're going to do it in the summer. But those summer targets are going to be very difficult to do, because Adam Wharton's probably going to want to go to a stable club where there's Champions League football. Do we offer either? Do we offer stability? Do we offer Champions League football? I'd love to say yes, but at this moment in time, no. And you're in the thing is, these players don't wait till May to do talks either. In May, we might have Champions League football, but can we offer it in March? I very much doubt we'll be in a position where we can go, we're definitely in that. But other clubs might be able to go, yeah, we'll have a chat with you in March. We really, really want you. We're definitely going to be in the Champions League. You can see we're a stable club, and that becomes problematic then, doesn't it? Lee says, good day, Mark. Hope you're well. My question is off topic. Why is United the only team boasting about 16-year-old signings but not signing what we need? First team players. We seem like a small club mentality, and Wilcox makes me sick. Because Man United, well, I know the answer to this. I think many of you know the answer to this. Manchester United are basically scraping around the barrel for positivity. Some clubs have so much positivity they don't need to shout about it. We will shout about anything we can. If we beat Wolves tonight, it'll be all over Instagram, because any little positive they jump on. That's why Wilcox was walking out the Palace game saying to journalists, trust the process, because we've scraped a win, and he can go, oh yeah, we're heading in the right direction. But I don't think it's, I think it's because there's a lack of positivity. Stephen says, personal terms already agreed with Baleba. So there is an interesting story about Baleba this morning. It's coming in from, I can't get the name right of this, Sacha Tavalieri. He's basically saying that Bayern Munich have Baleba on their shortlist, but the player's priority is a move to Manchester United. I've got to be honest here. I'm in a good mood this morning. I think hopefully we're going to win. It's the start of another week. The Christmas tree is up. There's no reason to be in a bad mood. But honestly, every time I hear the word Baleba at the moment, my stomach does turn. Savage says, please send him to Bayern. I don't like this deal at all, and I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to do it because it's easy, and I think we're going to do it because he's desperate to sign for us. And I don't rate this player. I really don't. I do not rate him. I think he's a massive red flag, and I think United are going to do what United do and make a big mistake here. Somebody was saying last week in the chat he's a flop before he's signed. And you know what? I sort of understand what they mean, because you look at Ugarte, some people turned on Ugarte very, very quickly. Now, they may not be wrong, but they didn't give him a chance. And that sort of probably does. I need to just dwell on that for a moment, because that probably doesn't make sense. I didn't like the way some people were giving Ugarte nicknames and saying he was shit from day one. Now, he may well end up being that, but surely there has to be a period of, patience and time. I think that nobody's right in football. And if you get a section of the fan base before a player's even here going, he's shit, they're up against it from the start. And I think with Baleba, I think some people will see him as a flop before he's even signed. I certainly don't think he's the exciting signing he might have been in the summer. And there's not, it's a tired topic, but I don't trust United's recruitment. I don't trust Wilcox. I don't trust the board's recruitment strategy. And I don't trust Baleba. And Brighton won't sell him cheap either. I just think this is one of those deals where you're convinced it's the right person, but everyone else is saying no. It's like your mate who's going out with someone and you know that they're not good for you, and they're like, no, I'm in love with them. And you're like, all right, crack on. You do it. I really hope it works out. I really do. I really hope it works out. But I'm not. And look, there's people in the chat who really like Baleba. I think he's got a bit of a Player FC vibe about him already. But the reality is, across this season for Brighton, he's been predominantly crap. He has had some games where he's been okay, but I'd say 80% of his games he's been crap. Now, this is your audition. You didn't get your move to Man United, so this is your point to prove, and your point to prove is 80% of the time you're not switched on. I just think, apparently we've got a no dickheads policy. I'm not saying he's a dickhead, but I don't think he's got the right head. I don't think he's got the right mentality. I think he's shown, an inconsistency that shouldn't be happening. And I just think that there are too many red flags with Baleba. But I do think United will do that deal, and we're already being told that, the data. Well, at the end of the day, when I look at Baleba, I don't really care about his performances. I don't really care about what people think. We've looked at him, we've put it through the computer, and everything said in 2025 summer that he will be one of the best midfielders in the world. And we've just stopped looking at the stats ever since then. And that's incredible. That's incredible. All your data from last season has to be merged with the data from this season. You can't just go, in August, everything was okay. How many people had situations in August that aren't the situation in December? So, I don't. Drush says, mate, come on. Look, I'm not disrespecting the fact that some of you like Baleba, but you have to respect the fact that some of us are going, this is a big red flag. If you're sat there saying signing Baleba, I just think you may as well stick a poster up on your wall, because tell me why. Let's have a grown-up conversation. We've been doing this for a very long time. Why is Baleba the answer for Man United's midfielder, apart from the fact that you just want anybody and you think he's going to be the player he was last season? If you're right, great. But look, if we were in a business together, I would not be listening to you. I would be saying I am not spending our business's money on you going, I think he's going to be the player from last year, even though he's not been for 6 months. And we've done this so many times as a football club. If me and you are the CEOs and you're trying to convince me to sign Baleba, you've got to do a lot better than, I think it's going to work, I think he's a good player. Because I'd go, well, I thought that in the summer. He played shit when he came to Old Trafford. In fact, he had to delete an Instagram post joking about signing for us. He's been shit most games for Brighton. He's been dropped. He's been subbed on 60 minutes most games. That doesn't show me a player that we showed interest in the summer. How's he reacted to that? He's bottled it. I mean, that's not it for me. So, look, I ain't doing this deal, but I think United would. However, Gene says his talent is still there, but I'd never pay 100 million. But Jadon Sancho's talented, mate. Whatever you think, Jadon Sancho's talented. Di Maria's talented. Alexis Sanchez is talented. If we're signing players on talent, you've learned nothing over the last... You've learned nothing, John. You've learned nothing, Jon Snow. If we're signing players because they're talented, oh my God, where have you been for 10 years? Open your eyes. You can't just sign players because they're talented. You've got to sign players on their mentality. His mentality this season is shocking. And people can say, oh, you're being unfair. I don't care. I don't care about Amorim. I don't care about the players. I don't care about the owners. The only thing I care about is Manchester United, and I have to do what I think is best for Manchester United. Now, I've got no say, but I have an opinion. My opinion is we shouldn't be going anywhere near Baleba. There are other midfielders, Adam Wharton, Elliot Anderson, and others who have performed from August to today. They know they're in the shop window in the summer, and they're performing. Baleba knows we wanted him, and he's gone, I'm interested. Brighton didn't let me go, so I'm not interested. Or, even worse, he is trying and he's shit. Why has he gone shit? Is it because he's down tools? That's a worry. Or is it because he's just not that good? That's the question, isn't it? Why is it Baleba's gone from being really talented and performing well to not performing well? Is it because he's down tools, bad mentality, or is it because he can't replicate last season and he's been figured out? Well, that's a concern. Which two? Which of the two are the problem? Because if he's a one-season wonder, don't go anywhere near him. If he's downing tools because he's not happy with Brighton, don't go anywhere near him. That's my problem with Baleba. Now, if he suddenly starts playing really well for the rest of the season, you've got to have a look at it again and go, maybe he's learned his lesson. But, that if I was, we're speaking about Adam Wharton's agent there, Baleba's agent should be talking to him and saying, they're not wrong what they're saying. They're not wrong. They're not wrong. They're absolutely right. You know, you had a dream move in the summer that didn't happen because Man United didn't want to pay what Brighton wanted. And since then, you're playing rubbish. So people are going to go, you've got a weak mentality or you're a one-season wonder. That's down to you. That's down to you. Feel like the players will let us down today. I hope it won't happen again. On the plus side, the Amorim's last game, hopefully. Okay. We will be talking about that in about 10 minutes. So we will talk about that. Gallagher deal is just as risky as the Baleba one, says Kai. Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, I wasn't going to talk about Gallagher, but the difference between Conor Gallagher and Baleba is that you're talking about £25 million instead of £70 million. And you're probably talking, better wages, but also you're probably talking about a loan deal. I think it's a very different deal, Conor Gallagher and Baleba, to be honest with you. If his head's dropped just by being linked to us, imagine when he actually signs and the scrutiny that comes with that. I mean, that is a great name, not prepared. And it's also a great point. Is he prepared for that? Look. I think there are people that could be employed by Manchester United that are like you and I, who get what it is to be a Man United player and understand the scrutiny and the pressure. I think we have people within that football club who don't understand the scrutiny and the pressure. And it was an amazing video we did yesterday about these leaks coming out from Delo and other people about the mentality in that dressing room and how they don't like criticism. I mean, let's just take that back for a minute. So apparently the players don't like the class of 92 because the class of 92 criticised them, and the players feel that the class of 92 should be protecting them. Imagine if this gets under our players, if criticism in the media from ex-players gets under the skin of our players. No wonder they don't turn up in games where crowds are, on their back. I mean, it's just weak. And we don't need weak mentality players at Man United. And that's why I look at certain players that we've been linked to and I go, they're not going to be the answer. I mean, if they can't deal with that at Brighton, how are they going to deal with what goes on at Man United? Because I tell you what, you don't come to Man United and get a big arm round your shoulder and everyone's saying, don't worry, mate, you be you, you take your time. Oh, you've had a bad game, don't worry. I mean, with the best will in the world, we are very demanding. We're very demanding as fans, and I don't have a problem with that. But, you need the best of the best when it comes to mentality at Man United, and we can see every week what happens when you don't have that. Can Baleba play double pivot with Bruno, says Pio. Well, he can play double pivot. Whether he can play with Bruno, whether anyone can play with Bruno, I don't know. Slazy says, how many one-season wonders have we signed before that they've been a success for us? Baleba had one good season in an overperforming Brighton side. Brighton are actually playing better this season than last season, and he can't perform in it. Anyway, look, this leads on to another story. I want to get into this match today in Amorim, but there's a few bits I want to talk about. So this came in from, I read it in the Manchester Evening News. So this 18-year-old Ayoub Boadi of Lille is a midfielder that Man United have been linked to, apparently for about £50 million. A bit of excitement around it this morning. Highly rated teenage midfielder, been linked to big clubs. Man United apparently interested, and I've heard people going, yeah, this could be the next Euro for Manchester United. Absolutely do not like the look of this type of a deal at all. Not at all. I mean, I'm getting the words Mainu, Garnacho, Dorgu, Yoro, and out of those four players, over the last 12 months, what's happened to them? People are losing faith in Dorgu, which I think is incredible. Some people are starting to turn on Yoro, which I think is incredible. Garnacho's now at Chelsea, and Mainu's on his way out the door. I mean, I'm sorry, it's getting to a point now where I'm no longer excited about Man United being linked to potentially brilliant teenagers, because I don't see that as the solution for Man United. I think if you're Arsenal or you're Man City, it works really well because stability, good football, good managers, development, nurturing, senior pros who can help them do that. I see that. At Man United, I see an 18-year-old for 50 million coming in and the whole fan base going, he's got to hit the ground running and be a leader straight away. And you go, oh my God, that just cannot happen. That cannot happen. That cannot be the solution. We need 26-year-old proven leader signing for Man United in our midfield. That's what we need. I mean, people talk about age and that. I mean, and it will never happen. But I'd be more excited about Kimmich signing for Man United at his age than I would be about this lad. Because what we need right now is specialists with the right mentality who can come straight into that team and lead. I think that's why De Ligt's been a good signing, because although he didn't really get much of much praise, De Ligt's worked really well because he's been at Ajax, he's been at Juventus, he's been at Bayern Munich, he was 24, he's gone into the team, he's got a lot of experience, he's still got a lot to prove. That sort of signing is the one that Man United should be looking at. I don't think we're going to sign this lad, by the way, but we did sign Yoro, and I didn't think we'd do that. But if our recruitment team really thinks signing 18, 19, 20-year-olds is going to take this club back to the top, they're mad. They're absolutely mad. This signing is just not the right sort of signing for me. So, look, we have been linked to him. Even better, Nuno Mendes is perfect as United tight. Yeah, well, Nuno Mendes is perfect. Hakimi is perfect. You know, Neves in the midfield, Vitinha. You know, PSG want to give us some of their players. Plenty of them would be perfect. But I think the profile of player we need is not 18-year-olds. I mean, look, with the best will in the world, he could be the next Kante, he could be the next Zidane, he could be the next Patrick Vieira. But he wouldn't be. If we had Cesc Fabregas at 18 at Man United now, he wouldn't be the Cesc Fabregas that went to Barcelona later in his career. If we had Ronaldo now, he wouldn't be the Ronaldo that went to Real Madrid. And people can't get their head around that because they go, well, they would because of... No, they wouldn't, because that Ronaldo went into a team surrounded by senior players to help and nurture him and guide him. He'd still be really talented, but he wouldn't have the nurturing, so he wouldn't be the same player. And the same with Fabregas. He went into an Arsenal side where there was a lot of good players around him. You drop Fabregas and Ronaldo in United's team now at 18. Dread to think where they'd be at 20. I'm not saying they'd be playing for Preston, but you can't just... It's like what Ineos have done with Amorim. Oh, Amorim's a good manager at Sporting. If we recruit him, we'll be a good team at Man United. No, you've got to give him the things that helped him do it. You don't just take, 18-year-old Ronaldo and end up with the same Ronaldo that existed when he was 22 at Man United. You don't. That doesn't happen. You have to have everything around them, and we don't have that. So getting excited about, oh, this could be the next Caicedo, but Caicedo is Caicedo because he went to Brighton, they loaned him out, they nurtured him, then he went to Chelsea. Like, at United, he'd be a flop because we don't know how to nurture talents. And I think we're getting really lost in that. Like, I think the club are getting lost in that. They're obsessed with, recruiting these young players. And they think, like, the lad that they've just brought in, is it Orozco or someone like that? Oh, he could be the next Caicedo. They're really excited. It's almost like they buy. It's like buying a plant, right? And the owner says you've got to water it every day. You've got to give it direct sunlight, take it out of sunlight at this time, and you'll end up with a beautiful plant, right? Man United would buy that plant, not feed it, not put it in sunlight, and think it's going to grow. And that's the problem we have at the moment. I think we go, oh, we've got this 17-year-old. He could be the next Caicedo. And they've got no fucking idea how to actually end up making him the next Caicedo because they haven't got anything in that football club that provides that opportunity. Like, you look, I've already said Ronaldo. I've already said Cesc Fabregas. The class of 92 wouldn't even be a sentence if we didn't have Roy Keane, Eric Cantona, and that leadership team and that nurturing around them and Sir Alex Ferguson. It wouldn't happen. You had the class of 92 now, forget it. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work because we've got no idea what we're doing. Tom Grant says, morning all. So no, we shouldn't be looking at £50 million for an 18-year-old midfielder. That's not the answer. Imagine an 18-year-old next to Bruno Fernandes in the midfield being shouted at and, thinking he's going to get a slap from octopus hands flowing him around all the time. I mean, I couldn't think of anything worse for an 18-year-old midfielder with talent than playing next to Bruno Fernandes in a midfield too. I think it would be, I think he'd be suffering from trauma very, very quickly. Morning all. I'm surprised no one has kicked off at this club like Salah has, apart from Ronaldo. How long this can go on, we wonder. Another decade, says Tom. It's a great point, Tom. It is a great point, and it sort of fits in with the next bit of story I wanted to talk about. Why is it that in the last 5 years, Cristiano Ronaldo is the only person who sat down and said, this Manchester United is a shit show? Now, obviously, he had a reason to do it on his way out the door, but it still surprises me that, you know, we've still got all these morons turning up for training with a smile on their face, going like this with the boot bag. I mean, they're just... I don't know what they are. I don't know what they are. Can you imagine, right, Man United taking 1 point from 6, yeah, and a shit performance against West Ham, and Saturday you're in the gym and the communications and marketing photographer comes in and goes, lads, do you mind doing some pictures while you're in training? Yeah, don't worry. Delo, I'll be first. Delo pops up. Oh, yeah, get this one where I'm doing my little stretches, yeah? Oh, yeah, look at that. I'm flexing. Shall I do that as well? Ooh, yeah, great one, Delo. That's a lovely one. Anyone else? Bruno, do you fancy putting your beanie hat on? A bit of a smile? Yeah, love it. You know what Roy Keane would do? He'd grab the camera, shove it up the arse of the photographer and throw him out the window, no matter what floor it was on. Imagine walking in to training on a Saturday after that West Ham performance when Man United were decent and saying, can we have some photographs for social media? I mean, oh look, Roy Keane's day was the 90s. That would still happen in 08. You know, you'd get the likes of Vidic and Rooney going, and Ronaldo going, get the fuck out. Do you think I want to be smiling on a training photo after Thursday night? Get the fuck out. Oh, but we need it. The Glazers want it because, you know, we need to hit our targets on social media for clicks. Shove your clicks up your arse before I shove that camera up your arse. And that's standards as well. And I think that's a great comment from Tom, because what Salah did was over the top for Liverpool. What Ronaldo did was over the top for Liverpool, for Man United. But these players are a symptom of the cancer at United because they just go along with it. And we let them go along with it. You know, if we win tonight, they'll all be on Instagram going, you're cooking, bro, you know. But you have a shit performance against Everton. 2 days later, they're putting pictures out going like this in the gym. You know, West Ham, 2 days later, ooh, stretching in the gym. We're back in the gym. And you go, I'm sorry. There are players at this football club who achieved a lot more than you, who have the word legend next to their name, and they wouldn't do that because they read the room and they go, the fans are important to me. The club is important to me, and my standards are important to me, and I don't believe I should be there in a training top, flexing in a gym 2 days after a shit performance like that. But now it's fine, because we've basically, under this Glazer commercialisation, diluted competitiveness to basically a brand. And it was only the other week that United released some new youth tribute to Jimmy Murphy training top. I mean, I don't know where the money goes to that. Hopefully it's going to some sort of foundation. I don't know. But they've got Manu in it. And you're sort of like going, you don't really care, do you, as long as you're making money? Like, you don't actually give a shit about any moral code. Shit performance on a Thursday, get some pictures out in the gym on a Saturday. You know, we're not even using Manu, but get him in that top because it will sell a few more. And that's the moral code of Manchester United Football Club now. It's just money, 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 which ultimately goes into one pot for these owners. And it's laughable. But you make a good point, Tom, because we used to have something called a moral code in our dressing room. Sir Alex Ferguson was the top, but you had people like Neville, Giggs, Keane, Vidic, etc. You had people in that dressing room that upheld the standards of the football club. And, you know, you're not doing that. And we're not having this. And not now. It's just, yeah, I'll do whatever, yeah. I'm being paid, aren't I? Yeah. Let me get my top on. Wharton, Anderson, not gettable. Baleba is what's left, says Roy. Well, that's my concern, Roy. That is my concern. I actually think Anderson and Baleba are not Anderson and Wharton are already not gettable. And that's why United keep dripping out about data and Baleba, because they know they can get him. But I don't think anyone else wants Baleba, by the way. I mean, that's always a big sign. I don't think Bayern want Baleba. And you know what? In a way, if Bayern do want Baleba, they're in a very unique situation. We cover the Bundesliga on That's Football. Bayern Munich can bring Nicholas Jackson in and he'll score goals because they've got so many good players. And, you know, with all due respect, in the Premier League, you're not going to go for Nicholas Jackson because he is not going to perform in the Premier League. The Premier League's the hardest league in the world to perform in. So they might look at Baleba and go, you know what, he'd actually be a good midfielder for us. Whereas, how many Premier League clubs are looking at Baleba at the moment? I don't think they are. No Dickheads isn't the new. It's from the New Zealand rugby team. Ineos sponsored and stole it from them. Takes many types of personalities to make a successful team, says Nate. Well, Matt, our producer, sent me an article last night from 3 years ago that referenced the No Dickheads transfer policy. So it's rehashed anyway from within the club. Certainly. Look, interesting story this. Look, I've left it towards the middle of the show because it's, I believe, complete and utter bollocks. But Miguel Delaney, who I think writes for The Independent, saying that Man United are interested in Guehi. Now, laugh all you like. Let it all out. The reason I'm bringing it in is, well, twofold, sorry. I don't think Miguel Delaney's ever been accurate when it comes to transfer news. If someone can tell me one story, that'd be interesting. But let's pretend, let's do a bit of a pantomime here. Man United want to sign Guehi from Crystal Palace. Oh, no, they don't. Well, oh, yes, they do, okay? This actually allows us to create an interesting topic here because let's pretend that Man United do want Guehi, right? Guehi, sorry, I always get his name wrong. Let's pretend Man United want Guehi, right? We pick up the phone to Guehi and we go, hello, it's Manchester United. And he goes, hello. And they go, yeah, we really want you. And he goes, okay, you're a brilliant, brilliant institution. And let me just be very, very clear. And I'll put the phone down. He's not put the phone down. What Guehi will say to Manchester United is, I'm right at the top of my game. You know, I'm playing the best football of my life. I've got Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Liverpool, and other clubs looking at me. I'm out of contract in the summer. So, you know, it's going to be a big wage and a big signing on fee. And this is the big move of my career. At what point did you think picking up the phone to me was a good idea? Because I'm trying not to laugh. And that's the player himself. Like, why would anybody, unless he's got like pictures on his wall of Wayne Rooney and Robin Van Persie from when he was growing up, and he's a huge Man United fan, why would he come anywhere near Man United? Like, seriously, that's where we are now. Why would someone like Guehi sign for Manchester United when he's going to have the pick of big, successful clubs in the next few months? Unless he's a lifelong Man United fan, I don't think we've got anything. And even then, he should have a competent agent saying, I know you're a lifelong Man United fan, but they're not that club anymore, mate. And you're probably going to end your career instantly by going there. You'll be a shit flop in 3 months. And why would you do that? And we need to wake up to that. That time that many of you have been discussing on this channel for years. How long before we become a club that players don't want to come to anymore? That used to be a topic. That was a topic 2 years ago. We weren't at that point yet. It was like, what happens when players don't want to come to us anymore? I think we are definitely at that point now. I mean, you can pick the phone up to Guehi, but why would he come? Why would he come? And people say, why didn't we go for Cherki? Well, I don't think we did go for Cherki, and maybe we should have gone for Cherki, but why would you choose Man United over Man City? I mean, look at what he's doing at Man City. Would he be doing that at Man United? Probably be on the bench. You know, probably wouldn't be getting any game time. Things, you know, he'd be watching the ball go over his head like a shooting star. He wouldn't be getting ball into feet. I think people are starting to learn now from evidence that actually, you know, Jude Bellingham, Caicedo, both didn't come to Man United. Look at their careers now. Erling Haaland didn't come to Man United. Look at his career now. I think it's a swerve for a lot of players now, and I hate to say it, but I think it's a good swerve. I think as much as I would love United to be buying some of these players, I can't sit here and say that. Imagine if I sat on a lying test, right? Imagine if Guehi said, I'm going to let Mark Goldbridge decide my future, but I want him on a lie test. I want him on a lying test, right? And we wire me up, and the question is it a good idea for Guehi to go to Manchester United for his career, or should he go to Liverpool? And I'm like, no, don't go to Liverpool because it looks like they're starting to fall off. Look at the Salah interview. Man United's the place to be. We're on the way up, and it goes breaks the machine. Massive liar. So, yeah, of course I would like Guehi to come to Manchester United, but look, hand on heart, being totally truthful, it's not a good career move. It's not. It's not. The guy podcast says Pulisic is leaked to United, but we have enough 10s. I like Pulisic, but you wouldn't go anywhere near him. A lot of injuries and a number 10. Spin says, if we lose to Wolves, gym photos are prohibited. Chip says, Bruno/Baleba midfield gives me nightmares. Baleba thrived in a free role where he used his athleticism to press and break the lines. He struggles because he lacks discipline to play in a strict system, says Chip. Yeah, I mean, look, I think what I liked about Baleba last season was that he was all action. I remember him coming on in the second half against Man City at Brighton just over a year ago. And I think they were losing at half-time. And I think he came on at half-time and they obviously let him loose. And he was brilliant. But you're probably right. I think in a more disciplined structure, he hasn't got the discipline. But if you let him go and and, play a little bit freestyle, press, get the ball, move the ball, he's a much better player, which again shows you he's not the finished article, which is a third thing for me anyway. If you're worried about Baleba because of his drop of form or his mentality, you should also be worried about him about his tactical indiscipline and the fact that he's not the finished article. So not only are we going to spend a lot of money on a player that's fell off for the last 6 months, we're also going to bring in a player that needs to be nurtured, which we can't do. So he's not the finished article anyway. Slazy says, I can understand to some degree players not going against their employer, but there should have been some leaks about hair dryers flying around about in the dressing room, but apparently it's happy days there. Well, they've got no ambition. They'll be excited today because they're playing a shit team, and they'll be like, oh, can be a few more hours and I'm on Instagram. They'll be absolutely. United will turn up tonight. I'm not going to say the words will win because I'm banned from predicting, but United will turn up tonight. They'll be buzzing their tits off today. They'll be like, oh my God, it's Christmas time. We're playing Wolves. Imagine we're going to win. We've got a whole week of, Instagram and glow ups. I might even get a new contract. They'll be buzzing their tits off about this game tonight because, look, people talking about Wolves, right? Without predicting a win for Manchester United, Wolves have got less points than my uncle had on his driving test. He didn't drive, and he's been dead 10 years. So Wolves, I can't explain how shit Wolves are, and that's from Wolves fans. Wolves fans will tell you how shit they are. So, just before I talk about Amorim, Bruno assist against Wolves and he'll be player of the month again, says Robert McCormack. Oh yeah, how he's up for player of the month, I don't know. I mean, yeah, madness. Anyway. One player who probably won't be involved in this game is Ugarte. Now, he's been linked to a move to Galatasaray in January. I just wanted to talk about very, very quickly before we talk about Amorim. I think it's interesting in relation to Ugarte because, you know what? We spend so much time talking about Mainu, but Ugarte's only been here 18 months. Incredible. He's only been here 18 months. And he's cost us, 55, 60 million pounds. And I don't know what his wage is, but, I imagine it's, considerable. What a incredibly bad signing that's been for us. And you know what? When I see stories about Galatasaray and Turkey, I actually think, of course, it could be a load of nonsense, but how long before that actually does become a reality? I think we can say it's nonsense because, well, it's Turkish reports, etc. But the point is, it's a little bit like the comment there. Why have we never had any current United players coming out saying what a shambles the club is and how they're wasting their time and career? Why are we not getting stories about Ugarte leaving? Because this has been a nightmare move for him. I thought the first season at the club was a mixed bag, but this season's been dreadful. I always think second season, if you have an okay first season as a new signing, you've got to have a good second season. That's the season that matters. That's if your first season's up and down, your second season is where you define it. Like you look at Gravenberch at Liverpool, his first season was very up and down, his second season was brilliant. Ugarte's first season at United was up and down, his second season's been shit. So realistically, yeah, lots of conversations around Mainu, but really probably should be some conversations around Ugarte, who, when is this going to get any better? I don't think it is. So what is the solution? And I had high hopes for him, Rob. I really did. I think, I don't want to get all data on it, and Data Dean's not here anymore, but the strength of Ugarte across 2 seasons, one at PSG and one at Sporting, was an incredible capacity to win the ball back, recoveries. And we've just not seen that at Man United. We've not seen it at all. I expected us to utilise him as a really aggressive, win the ball back player, play a simple pass to somebody else. And it just hasn't happened. But you know what? Is he not a victim of a system that doesn't suit him? I think in that midfield 2 for Amorim, he probably doesn't suit it. He's probably more of a midfield 3 player, I think. I think his passing ability isn't up to the level to play in a 2. But if you put him in a 3, he could win the ball back and give it to one of the other midfielders. But look, that's a conversation that needs to be happening. Like, we do need to be looking at a solution around Ugarte, because that's another expensive mistake. And I think Ineos hide behind expensive mistakes of the past, but that's one of theirs. That is one of theirs, On the plus side with Baleba, at least he hasn't dropped off whilst at the club and is doing it beforehand. Makes a change, says Nick. Yeah, he's dropping off. He's dropping off at another club, but we're still looking to buy him, Nick. That's what worries me. You're absolutely right. You could look at Baleba and go, imagine if we'd bought him and got the drop off. Oh my God, another flop. No, we didn't buy him. He's dropped off, but we still want to buy him. That's the worrying thing. Pray for us, Carragher and Maddison on Monday Night Football tonight, says AMG. You don't need to watch that shit. You can just watch Countdown to Kickoff on the United stand and avoid that. I mean, James Maddison on a Man United game. Fucking hell. I wouldn't listen to that plonker. Carragher will spend most of the time talking about Salah, so that'll be all right. Mark, just join the chat. Why are you banned from predicting? My condolences on the loss of your uncle, says Revlin. Sure, Wolves are trash, but it's United. Still worry, says Tack. Look, I'm banned from predicting results because I said I said Everton would be an easy win. And some morons blamed me when we lost and said that I jinxed it. So I just can't be arsed with it. So I just don't bother predicting at the moment, but because apparently it's something to do with me. It's nothing to do with the players who can't be asked to turn up. It's nothing to do with the shit ownership or the manager. It's me. If I predict we're going to win easy and we don't, it's my fault. Because people actually believe that one individual has the power to jinx an entire world. Yeah. No, absolutely ridiculous. But honestly, though, I would predict. It's a self-imposed ban because actually, I don't know about you, I can't predict. I don't actually know anymore. I don't actually know. I don't actually want to predict Manchester United results anymore because I actually don't know. In 2 weeks' time, when we play Villa, Villa should wipe their arse with us at Villa Park. We probably win. Against Newcastle on Boxing Day, Newcastle are way better than us. We'll probably win. Against Bournemouth next week at Old Trafford, they're rubbish. They haven't won in ages. We should win. They'll probably beat us 3-0. I can't predict Man United anymore because, I mean, look, we should win tonight, Wolves are factually one of the worst Premier League sides in history. They can't score goals. Their fans have given up. They don't have João Gomez. We should win this game comfortably. But we might need a dodgy penalty in the last minute. You know, it would not surprise me. Then on the other hand, we might turn up and win 4-0. But predicting it's very, very different. Very, very difficult. Predict or don't predict. We love you, man, says Roblin. This community keeps United supporters sane. Thank you very much, pal. Hope you're doing well. I think I've covered all the main news bits I wanted to cover this morning. I do just want to talk to you very quickly about could it be Amorim's last game? Now, bit of a spoiler alert. I did sort of talk about this on the show last night, but there is a lot of people talking about it this morning. We've had somebody come in the chat and say, dreading tonight, but the one silver lining is if we lose, Amorim will be gone. If he loses to Wolves, he should be sacked. He should be sacked. Even I would say that. You know, you're over a year into this journey now, and if you can't beat Wolves with the players that you've got, then really you should walk or be sacked. So look, if we did lose tonight, then I completely agree that people are right to say that that should be it. It won't be it. So it won't be his last game. They will still stick with him because that's the mindset that this ownership has now. The standards are so low that they really are just capable of riding any storm. There's no, you know, if they decide they don't want to sack him, what happens? You know, few United fans get pissed off and call them rubbish. Well, they're used to that. So there is no plan to sack him, even if we lose tonight. So we better bloody win. If anybody's out there thinking, oh, this is the chance to get rid of Amorim, they won't sack him. And I was told that yesterday morning from a very good source that there is no strategy to make a change this week if we lose to Wolves. So you might find that incredible, but they won't do it. So I mean, I'm not anticipating that anyway. I think the chances of Wolves beating us tonight shouldn't be very high, but yeah. And you know what? You do get a feeling, you know, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I felt like, you know, we're all old enough to remember these days. Like with Ten Hag, I felt like it was close. It felt like it was coming. And maybe that was because Ineos had tried to do it in the summer and bottled it. But with Ten Hag, you always felt it was coming. With Ole, I think after the Liverpool loss, you felt like he ain't the guy, and then Man City, and then, you felt like it was coming. And you felt that they were preparing for it. With Mourinho, you felt like it was coming and they were preparing for it. The weird thing with Amorim is, as bad as his results have been, and as bad as the football is, you just don't feel like it's coming. You don't feel like there's a result that gets him in trouble. It's just like, every bad result we have, it's sort of like, yeah, they're backing him. And, I mean, every post-match interview, every player interview, every bit of noise that comes out of the club, you just don't feel that they hold that standard anymore, that, you know, we think this is unacceptable. They just are like, well, we just got to stay, we trust the process, just trust the process. Tony says, you thought Gyökeres was the answer to our striker problems, now gets benched for Moreno and will be benched for Havertz. How about you just support him? Who am I meant to be supporting, Tony? I'm a bit confused by your comment there. Who am I meant to be supporting? I don't know who I'm meant to support. Am I meant to support Gyökeres on the bench at Arsenal? I don't really get what that point is. Or are you telling me who am I meant to be supporting? I don't know. To be honest with you, Arsenal are top of the league, and Gyökeres makes a big difference to that team. When he came on in the first 10 minutes against Villa, it changed the dynamic of their attack, and they scored a goal. He occupies defenders. I admit he's not scoring that many goals, but he does occupy defenders. He does make runs that makes differences, and I think Arsenal are a better side with him in it. I thought they were crap in the first half with Moreno, but this is not AFTV. This is the United stand. And Amorim's priority striker in the summer was Gyökeres, so I don't know who you're asking me to support, but if I'm supporting Amorim, well, he wanted Gyökeres, so I don't really see what Gyökeres has got to do with anything, Tony. I mean, I think you're just making a point that I wanted a player that's not doing that well. But there is no perfect person at football. That's why it's so great. There's nobody out there that gets everything right. I think there are people out there that think they know everything, but nobody knows anything about football. Nobody knows everything. Brian says, is favouritism and experience of certain players one of the many reasons Ruman's job is on the line? Well, his job's not on the line, Brian. That's what I'm trying to say. I think he's under a lot of scrutiny from the fan base, but internally, his job is not on the line. I'm glad Sir Jim is level-headed and not reactionary and short-termistic like some of our fans. Managers need time, says Kay. Thank you, Jim. And predict or don't predict. I've done that one from Rovlin as well. Okay, let me get into the live chat here. Cameron says we backed Sir Alex. I mean, are we really going to go back to the 80s? It was only like 35 years ago. Capable of beating anyone, but can lose to anyone, says Cap or Die. How are you feeling about the game later? I think like I said last night, like I want European football, and I don't want that dream to be over at Christmas. I was thinking about this morning, and I want to clip it up. There was a couple of shows last year around Christmas where I spoke about where we'll be in a year's time, and I want to use them over the next couple of weeks. But look, I don't want our season to be over at Christmas. I want us to have a chance of Europe because it makes things, mentally more interesting. You lose to Wolves today, or you draw to Wolves today, and we may as well forget that. It's over. So there are certain games that you can still be shit and win. And I think tonight is one of those games where we've just got to win the game. If we win 5-0 tonight, we're not back. Like, I know some of the players will be on Instagram pretending we're back. And I know we've got those morons in the fan base that will be saying we're back and, sit down all the haters. But if we beat Wolves 5-0 tonight, it'd be a good result. But it won't mean anything massively because they're so bad. So how I feel about the game tonight is just win the game. Win the game, get the 3 points. That's what everybody is doing against Wolves. Nobody has lost to them. Only 2 teams have drawn to them. They've got Arsenal on Saturday night. They'll beat them. They've got Liverpool on the 27th. They'll beat them. Like, we just got to beating Wolves, everybody is doing it. So we have to do it. As I said last night, if you don't beat Wolves, it's not like, oh my God, Amorim out. It's like, oh my God, we're in trouble. If you can't beat Wolves, I mean, that's relegation form. So we've just got to win the game tonight. And without jinxing it or predicting it, I don't see how we can't do that, really. And I don't know what the excuse would be if we couldn't do that. So look, I always look forward to games, and hopefully, if we can win with a bit of, a bit of entertainment would be nice. I don't want to see diagonal long balls and Delo with a fucking towel. That's not. If we win 2-0 and both goals are from a fucking long throw in, I mean, yeah. Could be like this all season, but might be enough, says Robert McCormack. Well, could be. It just depends whether 2 or 3 other teams are going to improve in January and find consistency in the second half of the season. Because if 2 or 3 teams find some consistency, it's goodbye Europe. If Newcastle get in the groove or Villa continue doing what they're doing, it'll be goodbye. Because I think Chelsea, Man City, and Arsenal are gone. Liverpool, you've got to. If Liverpool find some consistency, that's another spot gone, isn't it? So I know what you mean, Robert. I don't think we can carry on like this and get top 5. I know at the moment we're there, but last season the league was like this, and we only had 3 points less than this. And look at how that ended. I think in the second half of the season, you tend to get people get in the groove, and if we don't get in the groove, I think we'll get left behind. And that's why we need to do something in January, says Chilling with Robert. Exactly. Thank you so much for watching this morning. We've had a super chat here from GD7. He says, I know the manager doesn't have the players, but we must play better. We're not Stoke. Looking forward to the 3rd round FA Cup draw. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll know the FA... Well, we'll be live tonight when the FA Cup draw happens, because countdown to kickoff starts at about 6. So we will have the FA Cup draw live on countdown to kickoff. I'm really hoping that we get... somebody easy at home. That's no guarantee. Grimsby Town, that's no guarantee, but I really hope we get an easy draw. I do not want a top 6 team. Having said that, the FA Cup has gone partially behind a paywall this year. BT have acquired it, and I'm absolutely convinced the balls will get a bit warm and they'll be looking for a big tie in the 3rd round because they've got a brand paying for it now. So I would not be surprised if there is at least one big game in the 3rd round. Cynic, maybe, but it amazes me how every year in the FA Cup 3rd round, there's always a big game. I just hope it's not us. Arsenal, Liverpool would be good. Not Man United, please. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching. And match day today. We'll speak to you a little later. Take care.